Right at the death, Gabriel Martinelli salvages a point for Arsenal in this fixture that has given us some blockbuster moments of the last couple of seasons. Two teams that have been fighting for the title, Arsenal and Man City. It was actually a very, very interesting affair to actually watch as a neutral. I say neutral, I don't like both of these teams, but it was a very, very interesting game to watch. Start with the lineup. I thought, if I'm my honest opinion, I thought Mikel Arteta made mistakes in the lineup. Well, that's going over to the team news, but started with Ryan Go, obviously Timber, Saliba, Gabriel Saliba coming back from injury. Gabriel Calafiori expected to start. Zubimendi, Rice, Marino being the midfield three, with Madueke, Trossard and Gyökeres as the front three. It was an interesting lineup. It was the mistake that I mainly thought that Arteta made was not starting Eze. I think Eze in that midfield instead of Marino would have been a better option. Just reason being, you know you're going to you expect to dominate the ball at a home to City. If you had the Etihad, I understand being a bit more conservative, and I accused Mikel Arteta of cowardice in the game at Anfield, but you can kind of understand that playing those midfielders if you feel as though Liverpool have such firepower, they need to worry about them and have so many dual winners in the midfield. In this game, you're at home, you're playing against City. You need to get these 3 points. It'll be very, very important for you to get these 3 points. I think starting with that midfield actually ends up costing Arsenal the 3 points in this game. I think Arsenal could have won this game. And I had Arsenal winning this game going into it. So I thought that was a mistake from Mikel Arteta, one that he rectified at half-time. But the first goal was City at their best in transition. Haaland at his best in transition with space to run in front of him. This is actually how Haaland is best profiled as a striker. Although we've actually been seeing him have some really good performances over the season, even outside of the fact that he's getting this ridiculous amount of goals, we kind of have come to expect that from Erling Haaland. But yeah, that first goal, I felt as though it's something I've noticed about Zubimendi. I did a TikTok after the Arsenal Bilbao game when I spoke about Zubimendi and the weaknesses that he has. I saw it at Old Trafford, but then I kind of brushed that. It's the first game of the Premier League. You've not experienced the Premier League. You've not experienced Old Trafford. That's quite a tough debut to have in the Premier League, regardless of how bad Manchester United are. But players seem to easily get on the other side of him, and he goes for challenges, and he's involved in a lot of duels. He's late to some of them. Maybe it's an intensity issue. Maybe this isn't a problem in the future for Zubimendi, but one of my concerns about him, to begin with, has been the fact that it seems to be that he can be beaten in duels. And it isn't all on him. I think Gabriel stepped up at probably a bit too early. And if he does step up then and Haaland gets the wrong side of him, I think Gabriel has to do so much more harder work to get back on the right side of Haaland. But Reinders finds the pass and Haaland finishes expertly, which you expect from him, from Erling in front of goal. Erling as if he's my brethren. It's crazy. But yeah, basically from then on, Arsenal controlled the game. City didn't have huge spells of possession. If you look at the stats actually for the game, we look at this graph that kind of shows you who's got the momentum in the game. After their goal just a little bit, but Arsenal for huge portions of this game have unbelievable levels of momentum in the game. And that momentum is had by the possession they have, how threatening that possession will be. But Arsenal had a lot of possession and not a lot of threat in goal. Less than one expected goal. And the goal that they got right at the death, past the 90th minute mark, was an unbelievable pick out from the person who should have started the game, Ebere Eze. I think Eze, he came onto the pitch and was, I think, fantastic. I think he was absolutely fantastic. He obviously got that assist in the game. What he has about him, right, and people can take this one of two ways. I'm happy Arteta played him centrally, first of all, because that's something I've been asking for from as soon as he was signed, that I want to see Eze playing centrally, for him to be having influence on the pitch in between the lines. And he most certainly had that. And it was so frustrating, I'm sure, for Arsenal fans. I'm sure you guys will say this in the comments as well, about how frustrating it was that you didn't get to see that for the first half of the game. From the 46th minute onwards, you see him being able to pick that lock. There's one pass he did into Timber. He walks around that pitch a bit bov, do you know what I'm saying? He looks a bit lackadaisical, walking around on the pitch. But it's these moments where he does these turns or drives past the player. As soon as Eze and Saka came onto the pitch, not to discredit Noni's first half performance, so I think he did really well in the first half, was really probably the only bright spark on the whole Arsenal team. But I felt as though as soon as Eze and Saka came onto that pitch, they made City look ordinary. And guys, we can't forget, City have been ordinary this season. So I felt as though it must have been frustrating for Arsenal fans to see that. obviously expecting them to control the game against the City, have a lot of the possession. Then you take that gamble in the lineup to go for another attacking player. Whilst Ødegaard is out now, after this 45 minutes of football, I don't want to see anything other than a Zubimendi, Rice, and Eze midfield. Like, you could argue against smaller teams, you could even bench one of Zubimendi or Rice and put on another attacking player on that pitch, maybe an Ethan, because against small teams, Arsenal are most certainly going to dominate possession. And I've spoken about Arsenal's mid-block issues on SDS, and I've spoken about on my own social media platforms and on the YouTube channel as well. The way to mitigate that, the way to mitigate those issues is by taking the gamble of playing these kind of players, playing someone like Eze. And then that gives you that platform for your front line to have that bit more fluidity. I thought Gyökeres was poor today, if I'm being honest. I thought in games like this, and I saw Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville speak about this on Monday Night Football a while ago. You play Havertz in big games like this. You have to play Havertz in big games like this for me. Just because Havertz gives you that connection to the final third. At times in that first half, for big periods of that first half, actually, there was a disconnect. How do we get the ball to this final third as quickly as possible? And the answer was Noni Madueke almost always. And him being a player 1v1, getting to the byline and finding those cutbacks. But yes, it was, from a City perspective, it's obviously been a tough season for them so far. What they did do really well was nullify Arsenal's biggest weapon, which has been their set pieces for the last couple of seasons. Gianluigi Donnarumma, although his weakness is in possession, quite obviously, in set piece situations, you know he's going to dominate the air. You know he's going to be just so assured. Was coming out to do that one punch that he just patented almost in this game. Any Arsenal set piece, so anytime he plays against Arsenal, you know he's going to be very, very... And he's so big that you can almost you can put a player on him, but is it really going to disrupt him that much? Because he's such a huge frame and figure. I thought Kusanov had a good first half as well. Good competition and battle with Trossard on the left-hand side. He was really, really good. I think, for me, City's best player in the whole game, and I don't think the Footmob stat does it justice, was Jeremy Doku for me. I thought Doku was brilliant. I thought he was forward-thinking. What I'd really like to see about him, and why I tweeted during the game, I tweeted this actually during the game, I feel like Doku has developed so much. And I wasn't talking necessarily about a moment in the game, because I think I actually lost the ball in that moment, and that's what this guy was getting on to me about. But just throughout this whole season, I think Doku, I never would have expected Jeremy Doku to pick up the ball in central areas so well and drive with the ball and link up play. And he's really improved. And it's another one of the cases of players that Pep Guardiola's improved, because I think he did really, really well throughout the game. Even at the point when Haaland had come off the pitch, the only way that you'd probably see a City attack happening is Jeremy Doku versus the wall. Almost similar to the way João Pedro was taking on everyone at Old Trafford yesterday. Jeremy Doku was just a guy that was just driving forward and taking players on and making things happen. There's one chance that he got where he didn't even hit the target. I think the ball stayed on for Ronaldo and Silva, but he created that chance by himself. I thought Foden was poor. Coming off 2 games that he played well in, I thought Foden was poor. Rodri still looking like he has to do a bit more work to get to his levels again. But in general, during that game, one thing I said at halftime, and I tweeted this during the game as well, at halftime specifically, was that Arsenal had to make subs. Arsenal have to make subs. They're going to dominate the ball in pretty much all of their games this season. They have to be more brave in their frontline selection. Mikel Arteta almost instantly made up for his mistake. Almost instantly. As soon as halftime came on, as soon as the players went in for halftime, he made those subs. So I thought that was a really good decision from him, rectifying for his mistake. Do you give a manager credit for rectifying a mistake they made themselves? I'll leave that for you guys to decide. But in that second half, obviously City got that goal, and this is why I said it'd be so interesting to get Jose Mourinho's thoughts on a game like this. I wish he was a pundit right now to see what his thoughts were like. But City parked the bus. Let's have this so right. City parked the bus, and I respect it. I respect that from Pep Guardiola. It's almost, and I actually questioned this when Donnarumma was signed. When I asked the question, Donnarumma being signed, is that a means of Pep evolving? Is this a new kind of Pep we're going to see? I think it's early to say in this season, but it profiles the 9 well, and it profiles the goalkeeper well, if we're being honest. And if you know your back line has had issues this season, dropping that line 10, 20, 30 yards might be in the benefit of your team. It won't be in the benefit of players like Foden, for example, who in a game like the Manchester United game or the Napoli game where City have more possession, have more control over the game, you'll see your attacking creative players thrive. In games like this, you'll see the Dokus thrive, you see the Haalands will thrive, and Donnarumma will be much more protected as well. From an Arsenal perspective, we know what kind of defence that they have, and for their expectations for the season, we know that the defence is going to be sorted. That goal there from Haaland is one of the only times you really see big weakness from their defensive transitions. Usually, they are so much better at that. But what I did really like to see from Mikel is the fact that he said, okay, we conceded in defensive transition. I'm not going to become more scared. I'm not going to be even more conservative about the situation, more pragmatic about the situation. I'm going to still roll the dice and bring on the Ezes and the Sakas of the world. The other substitute that really impacted the game well was Gabriel Martinelli. Now, I tweeted this right at the end of the game as well. Let me find it here. Martinelli has to embrace this. Gabriel Martinelli has to embrace... Let me zoom this so you guys can see exactly what I was saying. He has to embrace this role player role. Like the role player gimmick, he has to embrace it fully. If he does that, I think he can really bring like a second leg to his Arsenal career almost. Where it's you be comfortable in you being the bench player, coming on and impacting game, and really taking this finisher gimmick that Arteta's started. I understand why he's going for it, to make his players feel valued even if they're not starting the game. But he must really embrace that. He has to really embrace this role. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see now for what's to come for Arsenal. Let me have a look at some of their next fixtures that are coming up actually, because they've got obviously Port Vale in the cup. Newcastle away is next. Newcastle away, we have had a clinic in how to play there from Barcelona in the Champions League. Arsenal have to be brave in a game like that. Brave in the players that come and get the ball and come and retain the ball and come and retain the possession. And it's very, very important for them to do that. If you have a look at some of the other performers and performances from players that game, Saliba obviously back from injury, felt assured, wasn't too worried about him. I wonder where this leaves Merino. Because Merino obviously went on a goal-scoring spree when he went on international break for Spain. I think he scored like 4 goals in 2 games, one of them being a hat-trick. It's an interesting one for him now, where I think he could be an option at number 9 while Kai Havertz is still injured. And I think that would be a good decision from Arteta, in my opinion. And I would do that as well, just for the ability to link the play. And exactly what I was talking about earlier about what Kai Havertz brings to Arsenal is that ability to control possession, keep the ball, play the ball, and actually link up with his other attacking players. Gyökeres seems disconnected from them. And there was a cross from Timber that happened in that first half where he took a positive first touch and crossed that ball in there. You can see Gyökeres almost isn't anticipating that. Like, he makes good movements, and he is he's a freak of nature. Like, he is built like a brick shithouse. He is going to be that old-fashioned type of number 9. And against the smaller teams, I think he can be a flat-track bully. No problem. I think he can do that. He can score against a lot of teams in the Premier League. But in games like this, in huge, huge games like this that have ramifications for Arsenal's title hopes, which all games kind of do if they want to win the league title, they might have to look to a Merino or a Kai Havertz to play. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Let me have a look at some of my actual other tweets that I made throughout the game as well, unless I've forgotten anything as well. Yeah, the pass from Eze for that Martinelli goal is unbelievable. It's unbelievable ball from Eze. And that's what you kind of bring, that nonchalantness, that swagger on the football pitch. Give me the ball. Almost towards the end of the game, he's just demanding the ball without saying anything. And that's the kind of aura that he has as a player on a football pitch. And I'm so happy that he's doing that in an Arsenal shirt as well on a personal level for Eze. But it was very, very weird. It was a weird sensation seeing a Pep Guardiola team perform like that. Going to a 5-4-1, it's just crazy. It was crazy that he actually did that to close out the game. But you have to respect it. The City fans did actually, I think they were doing the Amorim chant as well, which is just little brother syndrome. And yeah, I thought maybe bringing Trossard towards the 9 and taking Gyökeres off. Gyökeres ended up getting 90 minutes, and I think that's crazy. I didn't expect him to get 90 minutes of that game, especially the way that he was performing for it. The more I'm watching Eze, just making me think, why didn't he start? Yeah, it's just, what kind of quality he brings, and I'm so happy he was profiled in central areas. But yeah, it's like it was so much more smoother. It was so much more smoother from Arsenal as soon as Saka and Eze came. Oh, speaking of Saka, actually, it felt like Noni was hard done by after he was so positive in that first half performance. For him to come off the pitch, I don't think a 6 rating is actually indicative of how he was performing during the game. He was taking players on, he was hitting the byline, but he has to remember as well, you were brought in to be Saka's understudy. What was interesting for me to see, and this happened actually when Martinelli got his goal, was Saka picking up areas on the left-hand side of the pitch. I didn't understand that. I didn't know why that was the case. Didn't know if that was instructed or if it was just something that happened naturally on the football pitch. And by the end of the game, it was just Arteta seeing it out, bringing on Waneri, bringing on Mosquera. Look at these are defensive substitutions. The only offensive substitution was on the 87th minute by Pep Guardiola is Savinho. Pep Guardiola didn't make an attacking sub until the 87th minute. Evil Pep. We're seeing evil Pep now. And yeah, it just goes to show that City might now have a new evolution in the way that they perform in games. Arsenal must gamble and take more risks in games like this. And in all kinds of games as well, because we see them have this issue with mid-blocks and low blocks in seasons previous. And that's just because of how they almost burst onto the scene in the season in which they finished 4th, where the football was so fluid and they were playing such high-flying football with Zinchenko inverting, Xhaka in that left 8 kind of role. Martinelli was on fire, Saka was on fire. It was all going well for Arsenal, and then teams started to realise this team is dangerous now. And it's almost they're being punished, they're being cursed for their own good performances. But for them, what I need to see from Arsenal now, for Arsenal to succeed, is for Arteta to take more gambles in his lineups. And like I say, even if that means that one of Zubimendi or Rice is benched in a game against a small opposition when you know you're going to have the high 60s, almost 70% possession of the game, I need to see that level of gambling from Arteta this season. It might be the difference in Arsenal winning the league title. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. And yeah, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.